You are listening to the Pencil and Paper Podcast Network. Visit pencilandpaperproductions.podbean.com to find more great podcasts.
I'm Katrina, and I love anime.
I'm Stephen, and I'm aware of anime.
But what if that affection could rub off?
Perhaps that excitement in her eyes got me curious.
I could offer up some solid anime.
I could give them a watch, just to see what all the fuss is about.
And maybe, just maybe,
I could learn to love anime too.
Welcome to Inspired by a Weeaboo. Welcome back, my Weeaboo family. We just finished episode 10 of Death Parade. We are getting so close to the finale. I can taste it.
Mm-hmm.
So, what did you think?
Well, this is definitely another character builder, but it was definitely a palate cleanser to the last one.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if you recall, last episode, when we last left you wonderful people last week, it got dark. Really, really dark. But this one, as working the narrative off of the things that we learned last time about Decim and certain elements to the black-haired girl that we were starting to kind of get into, but we haven't really quite dug into yet. They were kind of building off of that to explain them more so we have a better understanding. So essentially we see Decim going to Nona, and he's just like, you know, I don't know, just kind of questioning everything.
Yes.
About his job and what he's supposed to do, and understandably so after everything he just witnessed. So he's trying to grapple that, and she's like, you got to do your job. This is what it's all about. And kind of tells him that he's going to have a guest, but he's going to have to judge the black-haired girl.
Yes.
She said, you know, she can't stay here forever. You're going to have to make a decision, because we have kind of understood that she was down there waiting to be judged prior to this. So it was, you're going to have to do this. So, but I'm going to send you somebody, you know, go take care of that, but you're going to have to judge her, period. Mm-hmm. And we kind of go back to the black-haired girl and see that she's starting to she's chipping away.
Yes.
As we learned, again, in a previous episode, the mannequins are the bodies of the living left behind when their spirit disappears or goes away. So she's becoming a mannequin, in a manner of speaking. And that would kind of suck, because that does raise the question, what happens if she's never judged? Like, what happens to her soul?
I guess it would just be lost.
Wow, yeah. So, anyway, yeah, there's that going on. So, we kind of go back down to the Quindecim, and, you know, the black-haired girl's kind of waiting for, you know, they're kind of discussing things, you know, casual chit-chat, and then an old woman comes in, and she just, oh, hey, how's everybody doing? Doesn't seem like she's got a care in the world.
Yeah, definitely that sweet old granny type.
Yeah. And Decim lays out the rules. Is like, hey, you know, you're here. You got to play a game. And she's like, okay, cool. And then she sees the picture, which, if you recall in previous episodes, we mentioned the picture was from that storybook that called Chavo.
Yes.
That the black-haired girl flashback to remembered, and she was even holding on to at one point. So there was that character got put up on the wall, and she started looking at it, and she's like, oh, that looks familiar. The old lady did. And she didn't really say much beyond that at the time. It was just, that reminds me of something.
Yeah.
And then they kind of go on with the game, and then they have to play Old Maid. Ha, ha, ha. Ha, because she's old.
Which she does make a joke about that.
She does.
You know.
So she's in on it. So they go to play the game, sit down with their cards, explain the rules, and just start playing out. And then when they start looking at the cards, there are things on the cards that relate to them personally.
Yes, each one of them, even Decim's, has things that relate to him personally.
Mm-hmm. So the black-haired girl starts seeing, pictures of that book. She sees the ice skates, things that we've seen relate to her in the past, but
yes,
nothing out of the ordinary as of yet. Nothing's like clicks.
Yeah.
But the old lady, she starts seeing characters, and she starts having flashbacks, and we learn that she was an illustrator in her life.
Mm-hmm.
She used to do storybooks and everything, and she eventually sees a card, and it's like it strikes her like, oh my, and you don't quite understand what it is just yet. Then they finish the hand, and did she win or lose the hand? I think she won the game, didn't she?
Won. She was the first one to run out of cards, so all of her cards got paired.
Yeah. So she won the game, and then she's just like, am I dead? She just
very casually, she asks Decim if she can ask him a question, and says that she wants him to tell the truth, and she said this is the afterlife, right? And of course Decim and the black-haired woman were kind of shocked, because technically the game wasn't over with, because Decim and the black-haired woman still had to finish their hands. But the old woman realized during the game that she was dead, and she was very chill about it.
Yeah. But it was that one card
Yes.
that essentially tipped her off, because she says, she kind of relates back to her life, said, I was married, we never had kids, it was just something we never could do. So I took to illustrating, and then the characters in the books and everything that I created became my children.
Mm-hmm.
And the card had a character on it that she never drew.
Yes.
She said this was something that only existed in my head, and I never drew it. So it was at that point I knew this had to be it. This is the afterlife. Had to be.
Yeah.
So, but she was very calm about it, because she's like, even Decim's like, do you want to know how you died? And she's like, not really. She's like, I know that I lived a fulfilling life. And that's all that matters. So she was very accepting of her death. She did not panic. She wasn't upset. She was just like, it happened. So yeah, I'm happy that I lived a good life, and this was fun. She even thanked them for the good time playing cards and just hanging out. She's like, this is a joy. This is a pleasure. So it was a very nice change of pace.
It was. I mean, it's got kind of, I can't even really say a sad tone to it per se, because it isn't one of those where, her life was cut short or anything like that. She was a much older woman. So she lived, her life. And I would imagine she died a very peaceful death.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing really screamed, that her life was cut somewhat short or anything like that.
No.
So I think that's one of the other reasons why she could accept it, because she was older and she knew she, lived her life.
Yeah. And I think the tone you're looking for, maybe somber and bittersweet, because it's death. I mean, there's nothing positive about it, but it's sweet in the sense that she's happy about it. I mean, happy in the sense that she knows that her life, there was nothing she didn't get to do that she wanted
had no
to do.
regrets.
Right. She's happy that she lived a good life. Her time was up. She's just ready to go.
Yep.
So she got in the elevator. She even took a few of the cards, like the one that had her uncreated character.
Yes.
And just asked Decim, she's like, can I take this along? He's like, you're more than welcome to. And she went on her way. Yes. But I guess we kind of glossed over what happened during all that is, while they were looking at some of the cards, she recognized one of the characters on the cards, and she remembered that was from that book, Chavo.
Yeah, she recognized Chavo herself.
Yeah. She's like, oh, that's from Chavo. And they asked her if she was the one who illustrated the book, and she's like, no, that wasn't me. I've read it. I know the book. Mm-hmm. And so she kind of recounts the tale that we've heard about the little boy, Jimmy, and, his love for the girl.
Yes.
And all that. And something triggers in the black-haired girl where she remembers herself as a child reading that book or running around with the book to going to her mom and being like, oh, I want you to read the book. And they're just like, oh, we love Chavo. And they just have this fond memory of reading that book together.
Yes.
And then we finally learn her name.
We do.
Which we heard the old lady's
Finally.
name, by the way. But it was so long, I could not tell you.
No, we'll just call her Granny. The old lady is Granny.
She was the old lady. She did say it once, and that was it. And it was just like this long name, and I was like, I am not going to remember that.
Yes. I mean, they just refer to her as ma'am
Yeah.
during the episode. So.
But the black-haired girl's name was Chiyuki?
Yes.
Yeah.
But her mom seemed to call her Chi.
Yeah.
So we'll just call her Chi for short.
Sure. So, she's got a name. Her name is Chi.
Yes, her name is Chi.
So, we know that now. But we also saw Nona digging for her memories, or at least trying to get Quinn to find her memories.
Digging for Chi's memories.
For Chi's memories.
Yes.
But to what end? I don't know. Mm-hmm. Again, like I said, this is all building, character building and stuff like that, because not only did we see that, but then, as we've kind of mentioned about Oculus in the past, he seems all happy-go-lucky old man, but we knew, or just had this feeling that he's all shady and stuff. So he calls, if you remember, what's his name? Clavis.
Yes, the elevator happy-go-lucky guy.
Happy elevator boy. He calls him into his little pool room, because that's essentially all he's ever doing is playing pool.
Yeah.
And he asks about, he starts kind of rambling. Is like, oh, Nona doesn't want to play with me anymore, blah, 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 blah. And then just whips out some hair.
It's his beard.
Oh, was it his beard?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, his goatee.
So he whips out his goatee hair all over Clavis's face,
yes,
sucking memories out of him, which
yep.
was really odd, too, because these were memories that I don't recall him being a part of.
No, he actually was there. If you paid attention in the scene, mister.
But
as Decim is standing there talking to Nona, Clavis is actually standing on the other side of the wall.
Okay.
So he overheard everything. And he was also there when Nona was digging for the memories. Or, well, I guess technically more asking for the memories.
Yeah.
But at that point, Oculus realizes that Nona gave Decim human emotions.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where the episode ends. Chi does, at one point before you see the scene with Oculus and everything, she does ask Decim to pretty much tell her what happened and how she got there. And Decim, realizing that he does have human emotions, or at least something is off about him compared to the other arbiters, asks Chi, aka the black-haired woman, to fill in some of the blanks.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't elaborate with it because then, it kind of cuts away.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So, I mean, it wasn't like a super happy, oh my God, episode. But it wasn't a super depressing, dark, makes you want to ball up in a corner episode either.
No.
like the last one.
I think what was nice about this episode, if you're piggybacking right off the end of the last episode, this is a nice way to kind of bring it back down a little bit, to kind of give you a nice, like I said, palate cleanser.
Yeah.
So everything kind of seems like, okay, that was nice. And still kind of build on the characters a little bit, because if you'd had another one just like the last one, it'd been too much. You'd just been like, look, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
You're going to you need a little bit of a refresher, reset, because I don't know where the next two episodes are going to go. And I wonder if they'll go any darker, or if they'll go back to the dark place. I don't want to know right now.
Wonder.
I'm just kind of curious, because what does Oculus's knowledge of that mean? We even saw Ginty in there, because Decim kind of spoke to him. It was like a brief little moment, I guess, where he was questioning his ability to judge.
Yes.
And Ginty was just, because you sound like a damn human, all your questioning and everything is like, just do it. That's our job, just judge. And so that didn't really help Decim out, and he really seemed kind of torn about it toward the end, because it's like he kind of comes to this realization that he needs to have emotion,
yes,
to judge correctly, to understand how to judge. Because I think it was earlier in the episode, he was just questioning their methods of taunting and playing around with the switch, saying, are we just feeding into it? Are we causing these emotional outbursts?
Because he says that, that them basically rigging some of the games and everything to bring out the inner darkness. He asked Nona if they're not so much bringing out the inner darkness, but what if they are actually creating it?
Yeah.
So like these people normally wouldn't have those thoughts and emotions and all that kind of stuff in a normal sense of it, but because they're put in these situations, these extreme situations, it brings out an really deep down inner part of them that is just, I feel like it can be basically human in a way. I mean, I'm sure everyone out there listening has probably had thoughts of revenge and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But you wouldn't go through with it, or at least you wouldn't think you would go through with it. But then being put in that type of situation or something like that, you don't know what you're going to do.
No, exactly.
Which, we talked about on the last episode, and I feel like that's where Decim's coming with it, or I guess trying to get it across, is that these people normally wouldn't be like that, but because they're forcing these situations on them and just a very high emotional state, that they're creating this darkness that they probably don't have. Which, if you look at it, a lot of them that have been sent to the void probably did technically deserve it.
Yeah.
We can technically go back to the first 2 episodes where the wife didn't deserve to be sent to the void. And like I said, that once you find out that is where Decim starts spiraling. Mm-hmm. That's where he really starts questioning everything that he's ever known. And he would have never had that if it wasn't for Chi.
Yeah. But I think the baseline of what he's concerned about, kind of what you were saying, is the primal instinct in all of us. That animal part of our brain that's just acting to survive.
Yes.
So when you tap into that, you act what we would consider irrational, but it's fight or flight.
Yes.
So you just act. And that's whatever, we all have one or the other, and it just really depends on what that is for you.
Yeah. And I feel like this episode really brings it back to what you were saying with the other ones, where it kind of feels like it was had themes, and almost like the stages of death in a way.
Yeah.
Because this one would definitely be that acceptance.
Sure, yeah.
Because that's what, pretty much what everything was about, was just accepting where you are, why you're there, basically, and everything else. And it was just it was a good episode.
Yeah.
It was a nice, light episode that didn't bring you to that dark place like the last one did. But, we got 2 episodes left.
Yeah.
So, shit's about to get real.
Yeah. I would hope.
So, yeah. Everybody out there, we love you. All of my weebs. And, like, comment, subscribe, hit us up. Let us know if you want us to watch anything. If, you got any comments about this series or a future series or anything else, let us know.
Remember, follow us on Pencil and Paper Podcast Network, found on Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, Review, listen to your podcast, and youtube.com/Pencil and Paper Production.
Yes, and like always, we love you, my Weeaboo family. We will see you next time.
This has been a Pencil and Paper Podcast Network production.